U.S. President Donald Trump recently condemned Qatar for support of terrorism after a number of documents, which may or may not be real, were leaked onto the national news website of the country of Qatar. Now, at the exact same time, while he was denouncing the supporting of terrorism at the highest levels, he turned around and has sold $21 billion worth of weapons to the Qatar kingdom. One portion of the deal, $12 billion for 36 F-15QA fighter jets. It was linked on Wednesday. Washington, D.C. Qatar's defense minister met with U.S. Secretary of Defense James Mattis. So despite the fact that Trump denounced them as being terrorists, he just sold them $21 billion worth of weapons. Now, the State Department describes the sale as fermenting U.S. efforts to strengthen security and defense architecture of the region, pointing out that it does not directly conflict with current regional dispute, as it takes years to complete to fill the sale in full. So it's strange. So Qatar is supposedly a state sponsor of terrorism, but by giving them weapons, they're also supporting strengthening the security and defense architecture of the region. Of course, what we should do here is recognize that Donald Trump has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. But Donald Trump made a statement regarding Qatar without really knowing what was going on. It appears that he didn't even know that Qatar was a U.S. ally, and still is. A U.S. Central Command is there. There's 10,000 U.S. troops stationed there, and it suddenly decided to turn around and call them a state-sponsored terror just because Saudi Arabia did. So he didn't really think that one through before he acted, and now he's having to backtrack on that because they actually are an ally of the U.S. And this is pretty much stock and trade for Donald Trump now. So often he just doesn't even think before he acts. Now, I don't believe that the United States was behind the hacking of Qatar, because they're already a big supporter of the United States as it is. U.S. Central Command, there are 10,000 U.S. troops are already stationed in the country. So I see no reason for the U.S. to want to cause any kind of destabilization in the region. Keep in mind that the people that are most unhappy about this is Saudi Arabia and Israel, both places which adamantly oppose Iran. And now, while the U.S. also opposes Iran, it seems very clear to me that those most outraged aren't even the primary imperialist power, but the proxy states which carry it out. So which means that given the U.S. has not really shown any outrage at this hacking, shows that it's very unlikely that it was them. If I had to guess, I would say that it was probably Saudi Arabia who did it, because this seems more like an inter-Gulf conflict or an inter-Gulf matter, as opposed to something that the U.S. would be imposing on the Middle East in general. So I think it's very laughable for Saudi Arabia to call somebody else a sponsor of terrorism. It's just absolutely, frankly, ridiculous, and just one of those crazy things that, Donald Trump really had no idea what he was talking about. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.